Hello, I am Kristen, also known as CoCo Games on the internet, and I have been creating content for the last 7 to 8 years. For a good chunk of those years, I have been a 3D artist creating things for The Sims and people who use the program Blender. I've dabbled in all the franchises before and all the titles before, like The Sims Life Stories, The Sims, a little bit of The Sims 2, some herbs, things like that. But I feel like it would be false claiming if I was like, okay, that was my first Sims title. I feel like the part in my brain where I think of, okay, this was my first Sims game is The Sims 3. I was so addicted to it. I just felt like I was someone, or I was a kid that loved anything creative. I was somebody who loved to write stories. I would write stories in any composition book that I would get, any notebook I would get. And once I discovered I can do this in this game, which I felt like, I don't know, I started off as a console player with The Sims, and then once I discovered you could do so much more in the computer, I'm like, okay, well, let me beg my mom to get The Sims 3. And so I found a way to get The Sims 3, and from that moment, like, I was addicted. I was watching people play it online. I would get game guides from like gaming stores and go and get the actual disc for The Sims 3. It was just my favorite thing to do. I would love it so much. I would go and play with my cousins. I was just so addicted to the game because it allowed me to tell stories that I really felt like I put in my head for so long, and here it was with these little pixelated people, and I could make it as kooky and crazy as I wanted to while also like playing a game that clearly was something different. The point of The Sims is to recreate life, to show a piece of life where you have these moments, because life is spontaneous. The creator of The Sims actually started this series based off of himself having a house fire and, dealing with life after that and seeing how life is so spontaneous and things can happen like that. And I think that is the reason why I got into The Sims. Like I said, I love storytelling. I've always loved fashion. Obviously, I have a degree in design. So I was not only able to create the character, but I was able to tell its story and then see it live to be an elder and then see it have kids and do all this other stuff that I can come up with. So it was really just the creative aspect of it all that has always drawn me to the game, and it probably will always draw me to anything The Sims creates, because I feel like The Sims is a game for the creators of the world, the creatives of the world, and I genuinely have never felt more free when I've played the video game. I feel like there's always lines or like rules to a game, but with The Sims you literally can do whatever you want, and that has always been a thing since the beginning of the franchise. And I think that's why so many people have gone with it at every step, even when it's been a struggle sometimes. But it has always been a place and a space for people who love to tell stories and love to, get creative. I started making content, I was in college, and my college experience was not the best. I went to a PWI, and most of the times I was the only Black person in class. And then if you think about it, I'm learning things about the design space and the merchandising space, which also doesn't think about Black people at all. And so I just felt so depressed. I felt suppressed. And so the only thing that really kept me afloat was that I would play The Sims 4. Once I found out how to make things for The Sims, I was like, okay, everything that I want to say in my school life, everything that I want to say in my classes, everything, all these ideas that I have that I feel like aren't being heard, I can do it in this thing that I love, which is The Sims. And so that's when I decided to start making custom content. And I would sit there and I would do all the things that I would want to talk about or put in my projects at school. I would design it for The Sims and just put it out into the community. And eventually the community started really liking it and started using it. And that guided me to make a Patreon. And now it's like 5 years later, and I'm doing designs digitally that I thought I would be doing in real life. And it's just very satisfying because I was suppressed creatively at that time. And that's where I allowed that to go, which is making custom content. The community. I remember when I did start making custom content, I was so nervous to post. I was so nervous to put these things that I wanted to do into the space, and the people who accepted me was the Black Simmer community, and they elevated me and they supported me and they wore my things and they showed the pictures. And so I think of how great it has been seeing people feel happy with these creative things that I've made and put in the world digitally. There are certain things that I've made in the community that are really important to me, and I get to see now, like, the younger simmers who, you know, I once was, download The Sims 4 and easily access things that represent them. And even though it's been a struggle dealing with a lot of things, especially if you're posting that you're a Black simmer or posting that you're, you know, somebody who isn't the standard, it doesn't really take away from the fact that there is a space in a community that has created environment where you feel safe, where you feel like this is the place where you get to be a creative and no one's really judging you. People are just embracing you, and that aspect will always keep me creating stuff for The Sims. The community has really kept it alive, and a lot of that thing that has kept The Sims alive has been brought upon by Black simmers, and I love being a part of that. I love being a part of something that has been in my life for so long. Now I'm contributing to it, and the younger simmers who are getting the game get to see that I had a part of that, and that really just means a lot to me. So it's really me wanting to grow the community. The Sims has been my niche on the internet for a very long time, and no matter where I go or what I do in the future on the internet or in life, I'll always remember that The Sims has taught me, and the way that The Sims 4 has been handled has taught me that you need to think of the other first, and that benefits everyone in the end. I feel like if people took a magnifying glass and looked at the Sims community and got past it being whatever people think it is, they would see that it is a great example that if you just thought of the other first, the marginalized first, it benefits all. Because now you see people downloading The Sims and it's default to have all of these things that a lot of people had to fight to get into the game, and a lot of things in the game were influenced by people like me who've created content for the game. So I do think that The Sims is a perfect example of what happens if you would have just did it the first time. What happens if you just would have did it at the beginning and thought of who you believe isn't the standard the first time. And so I really just think that Black people, Black folks, marginalized folks need to be way more represented and thought of at the first draft. And that's pretty much it.